sahi na kazi sahi ni sasa hivi, sasa hivi, sasa hivi, sasa hivi, takupenda sahi. I'll never forget, I'll never pretend to. Tumepita kwenye jua, tumepita kwenye mvua. You've always been so true since you came through. Heri ungejua, wengine sitajua. Saa zile mikuwa sanga sana, picha zinakuanga za maana. Yule anapanganga ni Maulana, na so siwezi ngoja mpaka vile tutaona na 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 na, mpaka vile tutaona na 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 na, oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na. Shariki mula mimi nakufa aninyajo moko mami toyo fundena ahero sana pilirundo gawia nyathijo moka diri lalo gapacha jodonga dengo tika yudo konyruok na aniweya uru monda sunge jabata opungto mola toti unanimaliza Nisi na wewe milele mpaka kufa. Unisalie watoto mama, na kuahidi utokosa.
Good morning once more. I would like to invite Miss Redempta Mondi to come open the session with a word of prayer.
Good morning. Let's bow down for a word of prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning. We are grateful, Father, for the gift of life, even for the journey mercies that you've accorded unto us. We are grateful, Lord, for allowing us to gather in this place at such a time, King of all the glory. As we begin our meeting, we pray that your presence will be together with us, Lord. And we ask you, Lord, that you may bless everything that we do, the presentations, the talent that will be shown over here, King of all the glory. We ask this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Let's rise up on our feet as we sing the national anthem and the East African anthem as well.
Mungu twaomba unilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
As we prepare to welcome the CEO of Kenya Film Classification Board, I would like MC Exodus to come and entertain the crowd a bit. Then we proceed.
Check 1 2. Haya, mkoaje? Salimia jirani, salimia jirani, salimia jirani. Umeamkaje leo? Salimia jirani, muulize unaitwa nani? Unafanya kazi gani? Lazima ujue jirani anafanya kazi gani. Unaweza kaa na president na ujui. Salimia jirani, muulize wewe unafanya nini? Jina yako ya pili ni nani? Uliza jirani, uliza jirani. Haya, ukimaliza sasa ningeomba tuamke kidogo, tu stretch alafu ndio tuanze, si ndio? Haya, tuamke. Tuamke DJ, I hope uko ready. Haya, nataka nione kila mtu tu stretch. Stretch. Haya, tuweke mkono juu kila mtu hivi. Itana huko juu, itana. Itana huko juu, ya twende sideways. Ukiona mtu ainui mkono juu kumaanisha makwapa iko na shida, si ndio? Fanya hivyo, twende juu tena. Twende juu, itana. Twende juu tena. Haya, sideways. Okay, before we start tunataka tucheze game nyingine hapa kidogo. Inaitwa mosquito game. Inaitwaje? Okay, nitakuwa nasema mosquito, you rub your hands like this. Sawa. Mosquito, you rub your hands. Mosquito. Hiyo nani amesema? Nimesema mosquito, una rub your hands. Sawa. So nikisema catch it, you catch it. Nikisema kill it. Sawa. Haya, mosquito. Catch it. Wewe. What's your problem? Nimesema catch it. Why are you killing it? Mnapenda kuana? Haya, twende mosquito. Kill it. Twende tena mosquito. Kill it. Mosquito. Catch it. Ni nani anaua mosquito? Twende mosquito. Catch it. Aya, DJ tupatie muziki hapo tu dance kidogo, si ndio? Tu dance kidogo, tafuta space. Hata najua kuna space lakini tafuta kidogo tu. Tafuta tu kidogo. Aya, ushapata space? Sijui DJ leo tutaanza na nyumbani ama atupatie za nyumbani. Wangapi wanasema tupatie za nyumbani? DJs, unajua tuko wapi? Magoti leo lazima tutingishe, au sio? Tutingishe magoti. Hebu fanyeni hivi nione kama magoti iko na nguvu. Hapo sawa. DJ bado na select, si ndio? Mimi kwa majina naitwa MC Exodus. Sawa. Niko pale kwa mtandao. Bas. Haya, twende hivi pole pole tu, tunaanza tu pole pole tu, hakuna haraka. Twende. Unakanyaga pole pole, watu wasisikie. Twende. Aya, nataka tuchape mguu. Twende hivi. Piga mguu. Piga mguu nione. Aya, songa chini kidogo. Chini kidogo. Twende. Tunafanya hivi, tunataka tuoge, si ndio? Tukue wasafi. Twende. Ukiona mtu afanya pendi maji, twende. Twende, watu wa huku twende. Haya, tunaenda juu hivi. Kila mtu. Ukipiga mguu, mbona umesahau miguu? Miguu inaenda na mkono. Haya, ingine twende ya Masai, twende. Twende. Haya, tunaenda hivi, tunaenda hivi. Piga mguu. Usigonge meza. Usigonge meza. Ukigonga unalipa. Haya, twende turudi pale, turudi pale. Turudi pale. Haya, thank you so much. Thank you so much DJ. Wapi makofi tafadhali? Asanteni sana.
I've seen watu wengi wanameguza left, but it's okay. There is always a first time. Now, before I officially welcome the CEO to open the session, I'd just like to let you know that Cafil 3, this program, the second leg, we had gone to Embu, we had gone to Nakuru, Kisumu, and Mombasa. Now, this is the third one. Now, we would like to watch a video of how we did the second leg as we look forward to a great session today.
I want to appreciate the Kenya Film Classification Board for taking this opportunity to train our artists. It is very important and very key.
Before you are registered, these are a few things we want. Your registration certificate, either registration of business name or certificate of incorporation. Official search. We need to know who is behind this company.
Disaster na matasmo smarter na bitembizi tuna bounce bila kumba.
Cafil is a program which is an initiative between KFCB and the Sports, Arts and Social Fund. And it is tailored to empower creatives in art and film to create content that upholds Kenyans' cultural values while safeguarding children from exposure to inappropriate audiovisual content.
I want you to take keen interest in Embu. Now, because I know there are so many people hapa wenye wameungana pamoja waweze kupata kitu.
Kwa general public, lakini content uko nayo inamaanisha you have parent advice is recommended. So please understand the age you live. Content yangu ni ya back night. Wenzangu usiku nataka watu wengi wamelala, wakati hawana macho, wamefunga macho. So hivyo ninakupatia the reason ya kujoin your art. Feel art. Wenzangu nenda art out. Na nimemaliza shabaa.
Mine is just to thank you for coming, and we want to see more of these creative arts within our institution so that we can help our Gen Zs they are very frustrated, they're looking for jobs, but we are telling them that the time is ripe for them to become creative and be able to create those jobs which we are looking for.
So I've gotten to learn a lot more about what KFCB is all about. Perhaps they need to do more of this, more of what they've been doing, maybe at a smaller scale, like they can go much more local.
Creative economy is very key in our county, and there are so many things that are happening. Remember, Nairobi is the county with all the cultures coming in. It's a melting pot of all cultures.
During the holiday period, I'm at home, then I find myself with a camera, then I decide to write a script and shoot a film, maybe a feature film or short film. How are you going to rate my film?
Gratis filming license is basically a license that you obtain from the board, but you don't pay for it. It's free of charge.
It's very educative, it's very informative, and as an actor, I know someone might ask me, where do I get my next job? This is where you get your next job. This is where you come for it. You get investors, you meet people who want to know what you do, how you do it, and why you do it.
I really learned a lot, especially in terms of regulatory insight, content creation, and monetization.
Nairobi has been a success. Now, see you in Machakos County. Karibuni.
It is now the moment of the day. Please put your hands together as I welcome the CEO, Kenya Film Classification Board.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, creatives from Machakos, the home of Machawood. Just before I give my opening remarks, allow me to have Mheshimiwa Mary say a few words. She's here with us. We are honored to have her around. Karibu Mheshimiwa.
To the CEO, KFCB, Mr. Opio, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Mary Kituku, a member of the County Assembly of Machakos, and I am thrilled to be here and that KFCB have thought about us and come to Machakos to educate us on how to monetize our creativity. So thank you so much. What I'd like to tell each and every one of us here, the illiterate of this century will be those who won't be able to learn, relearn, and unlearn. We all think that we know how the film industry works, how to get money in creativity, but this is our chance to learn more and to make money out of it. So thank you and have a good day.
So good morning once more, ladies and gentlemen, creatives from Machakos region and neighboring counties. I know some are from the other counties that neighbor Machakos, stakeholders in the film sector here present, colleagues from KFCB, members of the Fourth Estate, I've seen a couple of them, Mheshimiwa Mary, and representative of Machaud, the film officer, Madam Katambi. Good morning. On behalf of Kenya Film Classification Board, I take this opportunity to thank you for honoring our invitation and welcome you warmly to this forum dubbed Creatives in Arts and Film Literacy. As you may be aware, having watched the clip that Brian showed us, Cafil is an initiative of KFCB in partnership with the Sports Fund and is tailored to empower creatives in arts and film to create content that upholds Kenya's cultural values while safeguarding children from exposure to inappropriate content. The program also seeks to create awareness of the existing legal framework guiding the film industry in Kenya. This program that KFCB has so far rolled in Kisumu, Nakuru, Embu, Mombasa, and in Nairobi early this week, respectively, aligns to the fifth pillar of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. We generally know it as BETTER, as well as the Vision 2030 that recognizes creative arts as a driver for youth empowerment and wealth creation. Ladies and gentlemen, by implementing this program and providing the necessary interventions toward youth talent nurturing, KFCB hopes to contribute to a thriving orange economy. I hope we all know that the space that we work in is referred to internationally as the orange economy, and this supports the monetization of talents for job opportunities and socioeconomic development. As part of our resolve to empower creatives, KFCB, in partnership with other relevant government regulatory agencies whose mandates impact the film industry, has developed a regulator handbook. I know most of you already have the handbook in your hands. If you don't have it, you might want to raise your hand so that we give you one. I think everybody has it. So the regulator's handbook thank you. The regulator's handbook is a handbook that we've done in collaboration with a number of agencies that if you look at the back of your handbook, you'll see them listed. We have a number of them present here. Probably where they are, they'll just stand up. We have Wapi Rubani from KCAA, Rubani Francis. Rubani Francis is there. He'll be speaking about the use of drones. Wapi Leila, Natalie from KWS. Natalie is there from KWS. If you want to fill him in the parts, you speak to her. Madam Kwantai. It's Kantai with a Q, not a K. If you want to, if you want to get any clearance from the immigration, you'll be speaking to her. Thank you for clearing the mic. We have Leonard from KRA. I know many of you will have questions for him because all of us have questions for KRA. I'm not seeing the other ones. Thank you. Where's Paul from Kekobo? Paul is right here. If you want to know how to relate in terms of your copyright and all that, is the Wakili that will tell you about that. And we have Francis from Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. Anything relating to when you are taking pictures or creating content, because you know you need to always get the clearance of the person you are taking a picture of. You cannot just film somebody without their consent. So all those regulations around that, he'll be speaking to. I hope I've not left anybody else. What were KFCB or them there? That's okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So the regulator's handbook that we've just spoken about is a guide for the creatives as it provides relevant information that will help creatives in pursuit of their artistic works. I therefore urge you to take advantage of it and really look at it, and during the plenary to interact with the officers that have just who have just greeted you, so that you are able to get a lot more information that generally you may not have or you may think is not there, but we have a repository for. As the government agency mandated to regulate the creation, broadcasting, possession, distribution, and exhibition of film and broadcast content in Kenya, we remain committed to ensuring a facilitative regulatory environment to spur the growth of the film sector through collaboration with the industry. And when we come to this, I think Marcos will be speaking to you about what we now call self-regulation. People have been wondering that, okay, so we all create content like everybody who is here. And clearly you are more than the number of officers that I have in my organization. So how quick will we be able to have a turnaround for the content that you bring us to rate and classify? So now we are moving to something that is internationally agreed worldwide. It's called self-regulation. It means we are empowering you to know how to self-regulate. We teach you how we rate content through the various thematic areas. Then you self-regulate, and we only stay as an oversight so that we guide you where you've not rated your content correctly. So it means you will need not to bring your content to us. You simply need to comply with the rules and regulations that we've given you so that you can self-rate your content. And Marcos and Redemptor will be speaking about that. So in a bid to provide an enabling and conducive environment for the film sector to flourish, it will interest you to know that KFCB has proposed various regulatory review frameworks that, once ratified, will allow obtaining of licenses a lot easier for the filmmakers, generally for what we call ease of doing business. So before, as a filmmaker in Kenya, you would need to get a film agent, go through them. Then they're the ones who then register you and allow you to operate. And we thought that level that we call a broker was a little more too expensive for our budding creatives. We know a lot of people in the creative industry are just from school, so they do not have this extra money to pay to the broker. So we opted to change that regulation. So come to us directly and we just register you. So you don't have to lose money. So it means we are allowing you to keep some little money in your pocket so that you are able to have a strong startup, a strong foundation. Because if you have to pay the broker, pay the license, pay KRA, pay AWS, will you have money to then buy your equipment? It's very difficult. So as a matter of fact, KFCB recently redefined the role of film agents in Kenya. As a result, local filmmakers can obtain licenses directly from the board without going through film agents, as was the case before. Lastly, as a regulatory agency, KFCB believes that through Cafil program, creatives across the country will be able to harness their talent and creativity to create works that not only entertain, but also educate and inspire audiences locally and internationally. And we want that as you inspire audiences, you create money your money does not expire because you've spent it on all the licenses. So we've eased a lot of licenses that you needed to get. So now you can do this easily and actually benefit from your skill. Because if there are too many licenses, a lot of us then give up. Then even if you have talent, you are not going to be able to monetize that talent. We therefore look forward to engaging with you today to see how far we can collaborate, because that's what has brought us here, to ensure that there's growth in Kenya's arts and film sector. And we all know that worldwide, this is where the next creation of jobs is. This is where the next creation of content monetization is. We all know about Nollywood. We all know about Hollywood. We all know about Nigerwood. We know Machawood is coming up. Why is Machawood not as big as Nollywood? And I can tell you for free that in Kenya, we have better content creators than in Nigeria. I'm not saying that Nigerians don't know how to create content, but look at what they show us. We have a movie that something is happening, somebody is turned into a chicken, and we are laughing and enjoying that. But he's making money. Yet in Kenya, we are able to create content that would be a lot more educative, attractive, entertaining, because we have you guys here. So let us not be left behind by Nigerwood as well as Hollywood. Hollywood had a step ahead, but I think by learning from what they've done, we can be able to catch up. And since we know that our creatives are very dynamic, I believe that in the next couple of years, we should be having one of the strongest orange economies in Africa, if not the world. Asanteni sana, ladies and gentlemen, and Cafil 3 is open. Thank you.
Now, the next phase will be done by Kenya Film Classification Board. There'll be presentations from Marcos Masiga, Redemptor Amondi, and Victor Okello. But before that, there's a gentleman who had requested to do a spoken word. We can just give you a minute. His name is Gregory. Gregory, are you ready?
Hello, hello, kila mtu anifanyie hivi. Okay, hii pisi yangu ni ya mapenzi, but mnirequest nitafute mmoja akayapa. Ule amevaa black. Nishachagua. Nifanyieni hivi. Okay. Hi mama. Okay. Hi mama. Skiza. Nifanyieni hivi mara ya mwisho. Okay. Hi mama.
Hi.
Skiza. Si unafanya kiseremala daily na mbao nikigonga. Kama matuse na fumble nikigonga. Cheki, umebeba chunga unaweza anguka nayo kiwilisraburu wa bebe. Mara moja ni dawa lakini design umeiva lazima nita take action ndo nikigodha nitagodha tena. Kama Manchester tutakuwa United. 10 hugs in the morning tukionana. I promise ka Liverpool will never walk alone. Daily nitakukumbuka kwa sala. Juu kama Arsenal bila shaka tukikosa ugali tutasaka rice. Roskoko kama si tamu basi tutajaribu misheveve. Kumbavu zangu, ombwa mimi, at least nimepata that rib. Na kuona kama Diana juko na bahati we size 8. Kwangu inatosha na sitaki more. Cheki, nimekukufia juu unani drive crazy. Lakini chunga, kufa dereva, kufa makanga. Usijulize maswali ati huyu ni nani. Huyo si ni nani. I'm that guy honey. Ajali haina kinga but I promise I'm sure nitakupatia imeenda. Thank you.
Tupigie makofi tena. All right. Stage fright comes in when you are facing a crowd. Now it's possible and it's normal kupoteza lines, but you did a good job. Now the next presenter is from Kenya Film Classification Board. He's the head of technical department, Mr. Alexander Marcos. Karibu Marcos.
The CEO, Madam MCA, and our creatives. Hamjambo. How are you, ladies and gentlemen? I don't think we've ever interacted with the creatives in Machakos. But before I start my presentation, I'd like to know if there's anyone who's ever interacted with the board in one way or another, or probably what you've known before, what you're going to present today. Anyone? Nyote hamjui KFCB? Okay. Interacting and whatever you know, you may have interacted with us. And believe you me, we guarantee you that when you interact with us, you'll not fail to know us. So, no, okay, we need to know that. Anyone who knows KFCB, even if you know us without us knowing you.
Yes, I do know you. Me or KFCB, Kenya Film Classification Board. Yeah.
So what do you know about us?
Well, you classify films. Ever came to your office during the first Machakos Fest competition, bringing some films for classification. Actually, you sponsored us for that, Machaud.
Thank you. Anyone else who's interacted with KFCB?
Good morning. My name is Violet. With my friend here, we have gone for several trainings in Nakuru for KFCB, for filmmaking and drama in high school and primary school. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the Kenya National Film and Drama Festivals. Anyone else? The last person. You said you know us.
Good morning. I came to know about the KFCB when Dr. Ezekiel Mutua was banning some musicals in Kenya. It was drama in the media and we all got scared. Thank you.
Naachia hapo. Hapo sasa, I have to continue. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll all get to know what we do as KFCB. Whatever is saying banning, you'll get to know what exactly it is that we do. It is part of classification. So today I'll be able to take us through the mandate of the Kenya Film Classification Board as granted by the Films and Stage Plays Act. And we'll also be able to share with you the requirements for filming in Kenya before I invite my colleagues to take us through, distribution and exhibition requirements, as well as film classification. I like taking stock or understanding the audience I'm interacting with. Any actors in the house? By show of hands. Any actors or actresses? Okay. Any film directors? Film directors? Any script or screenplay writers? Any script writers? Okay. Nice. Any film distributors? Let me simplify it. Anyone who sells movies here? Thank you. Anyone who shows movies? Anyone who shows movies? We call them exhibitors. Anyone who shows movies? Thank you. Any other group? Content creators, YouTubers who are here? Amazing, amazing. Who else is here? Any other creative? Yeah? Oh, you are vlogger. Okay, great. So I think we are fairly represented here. And today would like to basically equip you with the information that you require, because lack of it would definitely make things a bit difficult for you to navigate, the industry and be able to create and monetize content. And I'll start with the role of KFCB in this industry. So of course we established by the Films and Stage Plays Act, but also we are guided by the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution of Kenya. And the various articles, if you look at Article 2, Sub-Article 6, it basically says that any treaty or convention that Kenya has ratified automatically becomes part of our law under the Constitution. Article 11 is on culture, and culture is recognized as the foundation, of our nation. And of course, culture is basically our civilization. So that is what we have there. We have Article 27. We have Article 24. We have Articles 33, that is freedom of expression. We're looking at 46. That is on the rights of consumers and consumer protection. 53, we're talking of protection of children. So we are guided by all these acts. And for instance, if you look at Article 27, which is basically talking about equality and freedom of discrimination, I'll assure you that as a board, much as you're saying you're banning, we cannot encourage content that seeks to discriminate all of us, because you're basically disintegrating the country. That is why we are there, to ensure that that doesn't happen. My CEO has mentioned that we regulate at 5 levels, that is creation, broadcasting, disposition, distribution, and exhibition. And we'll unpack all that for you so that you're able to really understand the extent of our mandate. We register and license film agents, filmmakers, distributors, and exhibitors. In other words, we are involved in the regulation of the film making value chain, all the way from creation to when you avail your content to the market. We classify content that is meant for distribution or exhibition to the public. All the platforms on which you upload your content are monitored by the board, be it a broadcast platform, social media platform. We monitor and ensure that that content is compliant. We give consumer advice on content viewership. So when you see the ratings here, this is basically what we're saying, that this content contains certain classifiable elements so that you choose to consume it knowingly. And of course, we prescribe and develop guidelines on film regulation in the country. So that's pretty much what we do. Film, if you look at that long definition, you realize that it is because it's meant to be, all inclusive. Film means a cinematographic film, recorded video cassette, recorded video disc, any recorded audiovisual medium. But out of all this, what you need to take home is that film is any recorded audiovisual content. We don't deal with live streaming. We don't regulate news. We regulate any recorded audiovisual content. And when we're unpacking this for you, you'll also realize that we regulate the activity of creation, the activity of distribution, the activity of exhibition. We don't regulate the platforms that distribute or exhibit such content. So that understanding is very important for all of us. Of course, Section 4 is what obligates. Section 4 of the Films Stage Please Act is what obligates all filmmakers to acquire filming licenses from the board before filming. And Section 12 also requires that, any content that anyone who is distributing content ensures that it's examined by the board and that a certificate is issued to allow you to distribute or exhibit such content. Of course, there are exceptions. If you're producing content that has been approved by, right now we're talking about KICD, it was formerly KIE, and it's been approved, you're exempted from, this particular provision of classification. But we'll also discuss that. And of course, any films restricted for use of in the medical profession are also exempted. When I say they're exempted, it basically means these provisions do not apply. So, Section 15, of course, provides for the certificate of approval. A certificate of approval is basically the certificate we give you after we've classified your film and determined the rating. So we are required to submit that content for examination and classification, as well as film posters. Not any kind of poster, but if you have a poster that is related to a film, you're also obligated by Section 16 to submit it for classification before you distribute it. Section 17 talks about the films that are unsuitable, for children, but of course it provides for the ratings, the various ratings. Of course, there's GE, as you can see there. These are films that are meant for, general viewing. If you're a parent and you have children there, you can comfortably watch this as long as it's been classified by the board as such. There are films that are unsuitable for children under the age of 10, that is PG. It is PG-10, and therefore parental guidance is required. Films that are unsuitable for children under the age of 16, and of course we have 18, which are basically films that are for adults only. This has to be determined by the board. You can't sit down wherever you are and say, my film is GE. There's an organization in the name of Kenya Film Classification Board that has been legally mandated to do this job. Section 29 provides for an appeal mechanism. If you're not satisfied with the decision of the board, you can, with regard, of course, to classification, you're able to submit or to appeal the decision, and you appeal to the cabinet secretary. So, of course, there are penalties. When you have such regulatory provisions, there are penalties that come with this. If you're found guilty of any offense with regard to, the provisions I've highlighted there, you are liable to a fine not exceeding 100,000 or imprisonment for a period of not more than 5 years. This is not meant to scare you, but of course, we need to also deter some of our creatives from violating the act or the provisions of the law. And of course, if convicted, we can confiscate and destroy your film. But the license we've issued with regard to creation and distribution, that is the classification, the certificate of approval, will also be revoked. So that's pretty much the mandate of the board. And for those who didn't get to understand us, in a nutshell, that is what to do. There are other things we also do at the board. Allow me now to take us quickly through the requirements for filming in Kenya. And I'm sure you're not seeing a filming license yet. It's because in 2022, we redefined the role of film agents in Kenya, because initially you were to register as an agent, which cost 12,000 shillings for you to acquire a license from the board. However, we saw that as a hindrance to most of you to comply. So we redefined the role and constrained it to facilitation of foreigners only. So any film agent who is registered by the board will only facilitate foreigners but not locals. Yeah, if you find someone saying, I'm registered and I should, you need to part with some money for them to apply for the license on your behalf, please reach out to the board. We encourage you to reach out to the board. We should be able to assist. Instead, we introduced the requirement for registration of local filmmaker, which is free of charge. And what this means is that as a filmmaker, we want to identify you. Government doesn't have records of your existence. We do not know you. You are out here, except if we are able to identify you, and by so doing it to inform so many other decisions, government policies, and what have you. So a local filmmaker must register with KFCB and be issued with a certificate of approval, with a certificate of registration. And the only people who qualify here, even entities or persons, is a locally registered or incorporated entity. In other words, there are provisions for registration of your entities within the industry. So you need to find where you fall. If you are registered as a CBO, we are able to recognize that organization. If you are registered as sole proprietorship, that is registration of a business name, we are also able to recognize that. And if you've incorporated your company, and it could be a limited company, we're also able to recognize you and register you as a local filmmaker. In other words, we are not registering you as an individual because we are too informal. The sector is too informal. Can we try and formalize it? So the registration requirements are certificate of registration. Of course, where you have any other kind of registration, we have a CR12, a CR13, because we'll be able to know the directors of the company, the carry PIN certificate, and of course, tell us what your organization is doing within the industry, and that will be in your company profile. And of course, copies of IDs or valid passports for directors and staff within the organization. We do this within 1 day. Registration, a complete application will be approved within 1 day. And of course, our services are accessible online. You don't need to walk to our offices. Yeah, usisikie KFCB wako Uchumi House. Then you say, now how do I access this service? There's a portal there. Hata mnaweza jaribu, just key in that, and you'll be able to see that you're able to register and also acquire the other services you require from the board. That is just a sample. I think once you've registered, you'll be able to see that. I also need to take you through the registration of film agents. Film agents are basically, they're generally known as fixers within the industry. They're basically companies that are registered by the board and allowed to transact film fixing businesses for foreigners who would wish to film in Kenya. You're talking of TV producers and other filmmakers. But they also have the role in ensuring that whoever they're facilitating comply with the laws of the land. Whenever applying for the filming license, they have to ensure that the terms and conditions of the license are adhered to, and there are also other relevant legislations that touch on the filmmaker. Of course, who qualifies, just like the local filmmaker, a registered or incorporated entity is qualified to register as an agent, and we equally require a certificate of registration of any kind, the CR12 and 13 to identify the directors of the company. a valid tax compliance certificate for a film agent. And of course, you can't be a film agent from your bedroom. You need to be out there, and therefore we need a website. You must have a website, and the company profile should also be available to us. Those who are working for the company's details, the national ID cards and valid passports of the directors should be provided. And of course, unlike a local filmmaker, for agents, you must have someone who is trained in filmmaking. So you cannot facilitate an accomplished filmmaker if you do not know what filmmaking entails. So you must have one person and a certificate, a professional certificate in filmmaking or other aspects of filmmaking should be provided. This happens within one day, within a working day. We should be able to register you. At the same time, the fees applicable is 12,000 shillings annually. And for you to renew, whether you're a local filmmaker or a film agent, for you to renew your certificate is actually based on compliance. It means that once you are registered, you need to acquire filming licenses whenever you're undertaking filming activities. And the service is equally available on our website and the portal that we use for licensing. And that is how the registration certificate appears. And then now this brings me to the actual requirements for filming in Kenya. So first of all, you must be registered. Once you're registered, you're now able to acquire a filming license from the board. I mentioned earlier that Section 4 of the Films and Stage Plays Act obligates you as a filmmaker to acquire a filming license from the board prior to filming. And once you've acquired a license from the board, you're also supposed to seek the consent to film wherever you'll be filming. If you're filming in your house, please grant yourself the consent. It's your house. But any other space that doesn't belong to you, for you to use any other equipment, my colleague Francis will be talking about the use of drones, you need to make it a habit to seek clearance or consent. Walk to the county. You're using spaces that are managed by the county government. Just walk to the office, speak to Madam Kathambi here and tell them, look, I would like to film, and this is where I'll be filming. In case of anything, they can come to your aid. So that clearance is very important, and I have to basically emphasize it. We look at the various productions that you do as subject materials. We are looking at feature films, short films, TV series, web series, docu-series, and those series that come in different ways. We are not talking about genre. We're looking at documentaries, features, corporate videos, music videos, testimonials, travelogues, infomercials. Most of us are musicians here. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Masaku is a land that is rich with music. And you'll be surprised that you're talking about a music video. A music video is still film. Yeah? And advertisements. So those requirements are all in our handbooks, and you just need to refer to that whenever you're applying. Even the portal itself has those requirements. You just need to attach the documents that are there. How to apply, you still have to do it online. You access our services from Machakos. And then I need to emphasize that when filling the application form and you're intending to use a drone, Francis will require you to get a recommendation from the board. So that acknowledgement is embedded in our license. So when you're filling the form, ensure that you're indicating whether you're using a drone at daytime, at night, or during the day and at night. That way, Francis will be able now to issue a permit to fly the drone. And of course, Natalie on the other side will definitely require you to provide them with a copy of the filming license before you are allowed to film in the national park. The timelines for the filming licenses, for feature films, TV series, web series, and docu-series, we are processing the licenses within 24 hours. Yeah, within 48 hours, sorry. Those are 2 working days. But for any other short film, and the documentaries you're seeing there, the list is long, we will do that within 1 working day. So We try to be as efficient and also effective as possible because we understand the nature of this business. The applicable fees for your licenses, these are the current fees. For documentaries, advertisement, and short films, it's 5,000 shillings plus the filming fees per day. There's 1,000 filming fees per day. And we've tried to simplify what it means. If you're filming, let's say, a music video for 3 days, and we're charging 1,000 per day, then your total cost for that license will be 8,000 shillings. So you're also able to understand, and it's in your handbook, how we are charging this. But for features, TV series, docu-series, and web series, we're charging 15,000 per season plus the 1,000 daily filming fees. We've since reviewed these fees. We have regulations that are almost in the tail end of the process of enactment. And what we've done is that through such engagements and the feedback we receive from you, we've been able to abolish the daily, we've proposed the abolishment of the daily filming fees so that you just pay for the license fees. So once the enactment is done, we should be able to communicate to all of you the new fees that will be charged. That is how the filming license looks like. And I think I'm done with my section. I now take this chance to welcome, Brian. You don't want me to welcome Victor. So ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much. I hope I haven't taken so much of your time. But of course, we are here to do this together. Thank you.
Great. Now, the gentleman that will be coming next is Mr. Victor Okello. He's in charge of Nairobi, Machakos County, Kajiado, and the environs. He's the one who the exhibitors and distributors of Machakos County are answerable to. He gives licenses and all that, so he'll be able to speak more about it. But before he comes, there is a video that would like to be played about the NFC. It is a facility at Nairobi, in Nairobi, at the head office. It's a Nairobi Film Center, where the creatives have a chance to exhibit their talent there and their productions at a subsidized fee. And if you are here and you like to use the facility, you are more than welcome. And you can also tell your friends who are in Nairobi that the facility is available specifically to serve the creative industry. Proceed.
I always wanted to be a superhero. As a young boy, I admired their great strength and courage, how they stood up to the bad guys with arms akimbo, how they kept going even when some tried to discourage. I wanted to be that, to be a torch in my city, lighting up dark places and putting smiles on kids' faces. I wanted to do that, to fix every broken branch in family trees, enrich the society and protect it from villains. I wanted that. Over the past few months, life has tested us in every form and shape. It may have beaten us, but we never stayed down. We've come back from the impossible, from being abandoned and desolate, from confusion and fear. When all seemed lost, we found a way. When all odds counted us out, we stepped up. We walked through the furnace and came out refined like diamonds, like the true heroes we are, fighting for one cause, all for one and one for all, preserving today and fighting for a better tomorrow. The future isn't something you wait for, it's something you make. And at the Nairobi Film Center, formerly known as Nairobi Cinema, we creatives have a glorious future to create. This is more than just a place for entertainment, more than just a space for filmmakers and performing arts players to showcase talents. This is where we capture the African dream and tell stories that define our culture, where we inspire hope and bring dreams to life, where we reverse the wave of moral decay and promote positive social values. This is where we light up dark places and put smiles on kids' faces, where we fix broken branches in family trees and protect our society. This is where we continue the journey of protecting our children and creating safe spaces for them. This is where we become our own superheroes.
Good morning, Machakos. To the CEO, our invited guests, fellow creatives, colleagues, good morning once again. From what you've just seen, there comes another function or mandate that KFCB does. After you've created your film or created your film, you now want to distribute it or exhibit it. That's where I come in through film regulation and distribution. And I will want to ask within the audience, how many people are distributors of film here who do the business of distribution? How many? By show of hand. How many people exhibit film as a business? I did see someone. You do? Thank you. Who is a film distributor or exhibitor? A film distributor or exhibitor is any person who sells, supplies, displays, exhibits, lets or hires any film to members of the public. It's important to underline that members of the public is required to obtain what we call an exhibition or a distribution license, which is an annual license. Therefore, you may ask and or want to find out what are the categories. We have exhibitors and distributors. For distributors, these are people who run what we call video libraries, video shops, movie shop, vendors, those who sell movies or film along the streets, hawkers, video game distributors. For exhibitor license, this is applicable to cinemas. Like from what you've seen, we have, is there a cinema within Machakos town? You don't have. We pray that you have one soon. Coming up, oh, that's good, thank you. Video shows are where individuals admit members of the public to watch films or movies. How many people have been to a video show here? How many people have gone to watch football on Saturdays or during weekdays when you're watching Champions League or Europa? How many? Yes, those are what we call video shows. Then we also have what we call video game consoles. This is the new kid in the block. The PlayStation is an example of a video game console. How many people have gone to play PlayStation within those hubs? How many people here play PlayStations? It's an interactive gaming. Yes. So there are those people who run such kind of businesses today. We call them operators of video game consoles. Then we have the virtual realities. It's also another new kid in the block today. How many people have interacted with VRs within the audience? Very few people. Wow. And we also have what we call the video game hubs and PSVs. Wangapi wamepanda gari iko na screens inaimba inaitwa manyanga? How many? Vijana wanazipenda sana, si ndio? Ziko na screens. So we also regulate those kind of exhibitions because by law it is important that they are regulated. There are also restaurants, bars or public screenings. Wangapi wameenda watch cinema? Mobile cinemas in the village, in your neighborhoods? How many? Oh, yes. So those ones we also do. We also regulate what we call the digital billboards. That's another upcoming way of advertisements. I think there are quite a few within Machakos town. As we proceed, then what do you need for us to issue with a distributor license or an exhibitor license? We don't lock out individuals. If you want to apply for an exhibitor license, what you need if you're an individual is that first of all, you need to have an ID. Then we need to have a physical location where you're running the business, a telephone number, the details of the nearest police station, and of course, the nearest county office. For Machakos, the nearest county office will be Nairobi County. That's where our head offices are located. We also issue licenses to companies that are incorporated or registered companies. What do you need if you're an incorporated company? You will need a certificate of registration or a business name, a KRA PIN certificate. You also have you have to indicate the physical location of the business and details of the nearest police station and also the nearest county. Some of these issues from telephone number and business location, you find that they apply across the board. Why do we do that? It's because it's very important for us as a board to know where these businesses are being run from, and also even for other government agencies like the National Police Service. Because when you're issued with a license, it is copied to the county commander or the OCPD in the region where you're supposed to, or in the region where you're running the business. As we proceed, how do you then apply for the license? You can apply for the license, because now we are migrating from the physical application, that is the manual license application, to a digital application through an online platform. You go to tms.kfcb.go.ke, you will create an account and you will select if you are an exhibitor or a distributor, and you submit the complete application. Or you can also visit the nearest KFCB office, that is Nairobi. We are situated at Uchumi House, 15th floor. You can walk in and you'll be able to be served. I know that you'll be asking, is it free of charge? Definitely, it's not free of charge. There are some minimal fees applicable. For distributors, that is someone who is running a business of video game, movie shop, cinema distributor, the OTTs and the VODs, you are supposed to pay 3,000 shillings. Over and above that, you are also required to get what we call a classification label that you are going to affix to that film. And on classification labels, my colleague Redemptor will be able to give a comprehensive explanation on what it refers to, or the number, in terms of the age ratings. For exhibitors, we have cinema theaters, outdoor screenings, digital billboards, mobile cinemas, and also the virtual realities, which we charge 10,000 per premise. For video shows, PSVs, bars, and other video game consoles, that is, we commonly refer to them as PS, that is PlayStations, we charge 2,000 per premise. What are the timelines? We do process the licenses within 1 working day. 1 working day means that working day is from Monday to Friday, exclusive of the weekends and any public holiday. I think that's the end of the presentation. But if you look at the screen, there's what we call the classification labels I've mentioned earlier. Every film is rated either as G, PG, 16, or 18. So whenever we are issuing these classification labels, most to distributors, they need to attach or affix either of these to that particular film with the rating, because it will always indicate the rating. Then there are also films that are prohibited. First of all, you should not exhibit or distribute unclassified film. You should not exhibit or distribute films that are restricted. My colleague Redemptor will inform you of what a restricted film is and what an unclassified film is. And finally, that's the sample of our licenses. This is the online issued license. It will indicate the date, the license number, to whom it is issued, the category, like in this case is a video show, the location or county rather, where the business is located, and the nearest police station. It also behoves on you as a distributor or exhibitor, once we've issued with this license, to furnish the nearest police station or the OCPD or OCS with a copy of the same, just for purposes to make sure that your security is guaranteed. I think that's the end of my presentation. I now request Brian to come and do what he knows to how to do best. Asanteni sana, and thank you for being attentive.
As the song plays, the next presenter is from the Lake region, so it is in order. Let's put our hands together as we welcome Redemptor Mondi. Please play that song. And the people expect you to dance to it.
Thank you, thank you. As my colleague has said, my name is Redemptor Amondi. I'm going to take us through the classification process. So as Marcos was telling you about filmmaking, after you've made this film, before you sell it, before you distribute it, before you expose it to the public, there are some things that needs to be done before it goes out there, and that is the process of classification. So I'll ask the media team just to show the clip. So the clip.
Kila mwaka kampuni tuipendayo sana ya Thabiti Foods inatupelekea vijana wetu wa pwani kwenda ng'ambo ili kujitafutia riziki huko.
Sielewi, kwani walichagua watu kivipi? Mimi sitaki kuishi hapa maisha yangu yote. Niolewe, niuze vikapu sokoni, nife nisahaulike. Mtu ameiba barua yangu.
These people are desperate. They'll vote for anybody who throws a coin in their direction.
Wazazi kijijini wanataka kuona watoto wao, na sio picha, sio barua.
Hawa ni watu wabaya. Wanapanga kutuua. Tutafanya nini?
One of the girls is here looking for her mother. And the stupid old man has absolutely no idea how she got in.
Twende. Vera, nenda. Wakitushika hapa kuna mtu atajua ukweli. Nenda.
Vera, njoo nyumbani haraka, la sivyo nyanya yako amefariki.
Si mlituambia tutabiri ndege leo?
Ndege, sio matatu.
Well, thank you very much. So as I do my presentation, I will be taking us back to that clip. So that is a movie. It's a Kenyan made, and you can watch it. It's currently showing on Netflix. That was just a trailer. So what is film classification? Film classification is a process of reviewing a film to make a determination to either allow the film for public distribution, exhibition, restrict it to people of certain ages, or prohibit it for public distribution and exhibition altogether. So basically what I'm saying is the process of just watching and trying to determine is this film, who can watch it, and is it, can we not allow it for public exhibition altogether? So even before I go on, when you watched that clip, which rating would you have given it if you were to rate it? First and foremost, is it okay for us to expose public to such kind of films? Anyone? Yes. She says absolutely. Someone else? Yeah, it is scary. Yeah, so that is the determination that the board has to make. Is it a film that should we allow this to go out on the public? And before we even make this determination, there are certain parameters that we look at. So why submit your content for classification? So that we can determine age appropriateness of film. You see, such a film, we all agree that film cannot be exposed to everyone, right? Would you expose it to, let's say, a 10-year-old kids in primary school? Kids in high school? Probably yes. To empower consumers to make informed viewing choices. As she said, the film was scary. So for you, before you interact with a film, you'll need to know. So once we classify a film, always there's that consumer advice. They tell you whether it has horror, whether it has violence, whether it has sex and nudity. That way you are able to make informed decision. That way you can decide whether to interact with it or not interact with it. And then another reason to submit content for classification is to reach a wider audience. There are many of us here who say they were YouTubers, they were vloggers. You probably have your channel, but you probably want your content to go to other platforms. For example, this film was going on Netflix. There's no way Netflix will have picked it up if it wasn't rated. You must rate your film so for it to have a classification so that other platform can accept it. So how do we classify such a film? What are we looking for so that we reach a rating? So for instance, this is just a trailer, but the movie itself was rated 16. The board sat down, the panel sat down, watched the movie, all of it, and it gave it a 16 rating. And at the end of my classification, you will understand why we gave it a 16 rating. So guidelines are used by the board to assign rating to our films. These guidelines are developed through stakeholder participation. So these guidelines they're not mystery, they're not something strange. These are parameters that we have agreed on as a board and as a people, that this is how we want. If we are going to have content go out to the public, this is what it needs to meet. So these guidelines are developed through stakeholder participation. And stakeholders here, I mean filmmakers, I mean parents, I mean teachers, I mean consumers of the film. And so that at the end of the day, when we are rating a film, we are not coming with a lens that is biased. So thematic areas, when you're looking at a film, you'll have thematic areas. So these are the things that we consider when rating a film. So there's violence and crime, sex, nudity and obscenity, alcohol, drugs and other harmful substances, horror and occult, religion and community, propaganda for war, incitement to violence and hate speech. So as we have seen this clip, I just want to ask, what thematic areas did you observe in this clip?
Violence and crime.
Someone else?
There was a political theme.
Yes, there's political theme, the theme of corruption.
There was a bit of gender-based violence.
Violence. Someone else? One last person?
Poverty and suffering.
There was a bit of poverty and suffering.
Human trafficking. Human trafficking.
Yeah, so those are the things that we look for when you are doing classification of a film. So under each thematic area, so what I've told you, those are just six basic broad areas. So under each thematic areas, what we call elements. So under elements of violence and crime, there's violent behavior, there's fights and combative techniques, aggressive and sadistic attitudes, emotional and verbal abuse, dangerous and imitable behavior, gender-based violence, gun violence. So what we saw in the film, there was some form of violence. There was violent behavior. We saw sadistic attitudes. We saw there was threatening. There are people who are being threatened. That's part of violence. So under sex, nudity, and obscenity, we'll look at depiction. These are just but a few. These are not exhaustive elements in a thematic area. And then in the sex and obscenity, those are the things we look at: depiction of human genitalia, explicit sexual acts, sexual offensive behavior, and depiction of physical affection. And then under horror and occult, plus in this clip, there was some sense of a bit of horror. As you said, the film was scary. So there was some bit of horror, depiction of magic, religious rituals, exorcism, paranormal or mysterious event, or human or animal sacrifice. And then we have propaganda for war, hate speech, and incitement. Classifiable elements in these thematic areas include incitement to violence, repetitious, emotional charged phrases in order to incite war or hate, propaganda to rally people behind a war or a cause. Fortunately, we rarely receive films with such elements, because in the Constitution, Article 33 says that you have the freedom of expression, but still in the same Article D says it does not extend to propaganda for war, it does not extend to hate speech, it does not extend to incitement to violence. So if you have a film with this element, it will automatically be restricted and will be justified by the Constitution and other legal requirements. So religion and community. So classifiable element in this thematic area is depiction of rituals or practices of community or religion, depiction of religious and community symbol, depiction of religious or community leaders. So we live in a pluralistic society with people of different religion and different communities, and we may want to make movies or works that depict this thematic area. But then as a board, we'll sit down and see how these people have been depicted, and if the film can be allowed to be seen in the public. So after we have considered all that, so for us, our trailer, we saw that there was the main thematic area was thematic areas. We saw violence, we saw gender-based violence, there was some form of horror, there was some form of crime. So what we usually do after we've seen all that, we do not just look at those independently, we look at the whole theme of the film. So what is the theme of this film? And theme, basically, what is the message? What is the message that this film is trying to communicate? So from the overall message the film is communicating, so from what we've seen from this movie, basically the theme was, there was some politics, and there was a brief synopsis. So there are politicians, they're getting people, promising people jobs abroad, but then they're not taking them to job. Basically, they're doing human trafficking, and then when their plans come to the people start when they know that their plans have come to be known, they start threatening people, they start killing people. So basically, it was the theme is politics, poverty, and basically bad governance. So that was the theme that it was trying to communicate. So we look at overall this theme, and so for us, we say, okay, this theme, it's what is there. It is not promoting or glorifying it, but it's just telling us how it is, what the society is going through. So we thought there's nothing wrong with that. People actually need to see it. After we've looked at the theme, we look at the context. In what context is this? Is these thematic areas being provided? So the context of this film is basically the today Kenyan: unemployment, poverty, people trying to get out, trying to make a living. So that's the context in which this film was being presented. And then we look at the intensity. The intensity, we are basically looking at the thematic area. So there was violence, and we are asking ourselves, how bad was it? How grievous was it? How intense it was. So intensity is the degree in which a theme or a classifiable element is presented in a film. You see, in a film like this, if you want to talk about unemployment, poverty, bad governance, you can do it in very, very many ways. You don't need to have violence there. You can just be telling us. But this filmmaker decided that it was very important to show us the effect of bad governance, so that he used violence, and it was somehow intense. But then he wanted to send a message of what bad governance, what corruption can do to a society. And then the frequency. So the frequency is the number of times a classifiable element appears in film. So basically, this is the process of assigning a rating. So we are looking at this so that we can arrive at the final rating. So you can say this rating is rated what. So the frequency, those violence, and also those foul language in the clip, but even in the movie itself. So looking at the frequency, the number of times the thematic areas appears in the film. So you see, if you have a film that is 30 minutes, but in 30 minutes, for the 24 minutes in that film, there's just curse word. You see, that is very, very frequent. That will affect the rating of that film. But if you just have one curse word, also that will affect the rating of that film. If that film is 30 minutes, but there's only one scene of violence, then it will also affect the rating of that film. And then another thing that we look for is the tone and the mood, the atmosphere within the movie, or the attitude of filmmakers towards the subject. So I would want to ask, when you're watching this clip, what was the tone? What was the tone? There was suspense, right? There was a bit of suspense. There was a bit of sadness. It wasn't a happy thing, right? And then it will put you on the edge of your film, and you achieve this through the music. So we also want also look at those things, the tone and the mood. And also the film is very depressive, right? If you watch this to the end, you'll feel very, very depressed. You ask yourself at all if this is what people are going through, if this is what people are undergoing. So that one will make you depressive. It's not something that will make you happy. And if you are an activist, it will give you some motivation to stand up and do something. So that is so those are the things you're looking for. So all these frequency, intensity, context, tone and mood and theme, all these adds up to impact. So impact, it considers the treatment on the individual classifiable element, purpose and tone of the sequence, and how it might affect audience emotions and perceptions. So at the end of the day, after you've watched this clip, I just want two people, how did it make you feel? So how did it make you feel?
Emotional, fear, and sad.
Someone else?
Emotional, fear, and sad.
Someone else?
The film was very intriguing, and it creates. Okay, all right. Hi.
Hi.
The film is very intriguing, one, and it's quite beautiful seeing that is Kenyan work. Sikuwa nervous na sasa nimesimama nisikia. All right. So it's really, really beautiful seeing that is work created by Kenyans, Um, I mean, no. Okay, I'm just gonna sit. Oh, my mom is sitting there as well, so she's not proud of this. Okay, now zimepotea. So it's it's, I'm sorry, it's really beautiful. It's really, really intriguing as well. It's I'm proud to be Kenyan and watching that, you know. I'm like, okay, that's amazing. It's local. Netflix is seeing this. Somebody please take this mic away.
Okay, one last person. One, yeah.
To me, I've learned a lot because as Kenyans, that is how we are being misused and choosing the wrong politicians or leaders. Thank you.
Yeah, so that gentleman one, the last one.
It made me feel curious about that film and want to watch it because it's one of the genres that I like watching. Then also, I'd like to also share it to the right audience, considering the knowledge that we are getting from this podium.
Okay. So thank you. So basically, we are considering the impact of how that film will make you feel. And then apart from that, we are more concerned about the minors, the children. So we are asking ourselves, if we present this film to a child, will they be able to process their emotions? See, you'll watch that film as an adult, you may feel angry, but then you'll be able to manage your anger. You'll feel sad and depressed, but then you're able to process that emotion because you're an adult. But then for a child, that is what we are asking: will a child be able to process this film, and will it do more harm than good to that child to expose that child to that film? So that's what we are looking for when you rated it 16. We looked at all those things, and then we thought the context, the theme. A 16-year-old person is someone who is in Form 2. So, and then the message that was being propagated by the film: this person will soon be out of the world. Soon, probably there'll be those young people who are employed, but then they need to know what is. So they need to know what is going on. So those are the kind of the consideration we make. So we thought if we made it 18, it will be unfair to the teenagers, to the below 18, because this is a message that really it is appropriate for them to start knowing now. But then we thought for under 16, the 13-year-olds, the 10-year-olds, probably it's not something that they need to grapple with currently. So that's why we rated the film 16. Because sometimes the film might have those intense, like they say, violence and other needy, but then we consider the overall theme. Remember, this was just a trailer. Trailer intends to be more intense than the film itself, because trailer is an advertisement. It wants you to go and watch. As you said, it gives you suspense, and then you want to go. So if you go look at the film, it is not as intense as the trailer. That's why we rated it 16. So after all that consideration, so these are the rating that we have currently. We have GE, that is good for everyone. It's appropriate for family viewing. We have PG. PG, this is an advisory. An advisory because we also want the parents to play their role. So we'll give you an advisory, and as a parent, because you know your child very well, then you are able to decide if I can allow my child to watch this or not. And then we have 16. 16, this is legally restrictive. Legally restrictive means that for the exhibitors, if you have a video show and the movie is rated 16, I come to your video show, I find under 16, then you'll be held liable, and then that's an offense. So it's legally restrictive. If there's a premise, nowadays there's a lot of what they call outdoor exhibition. Though we have cinemas, but then people are embracing outdoor exhibition. Like you'll have like on a Jamhuri Day, you'll just get a screen, put it outside there, put a movie, and then allow people to come and watch. The last one is 18. The 18 is just for adult. 18 is also legally restrictive. So if you are an exhibitor, I come to your premises, the movie is rated 18 and there are minors there, then you are liable and you will be charged with an offense. So apart from classification of film, we also classify posters related to this film. So you'll make your film, you'll make a posters to advertise, posters and trailers, and posters are either approved for public exhibition or not approved for public exhibition. How to apply for classification? Our services are online. You just go to that link and then you complete your application there. Charges, it costs 100 shillings per minute. For posters and trailers is 1,000. For commercial and advertisement is 1,000. But as our CEO had alluded to, we have reviewed our laws. We have they're in the process of being reviewed. It is they're in Parliament, whereby we had reduced the classification fees for local films. Yes. So and also. Yeah, so where we had reduced fees for local fees, I hope when they pass, it will not be 100 minutes for local films. Thank you.
Now, the next session will be a Q&A for the presenters who made their presentations a few minutes ago. That is Mr. Alexander Marcos, Mr. Victor Okello, and Redemptor Mondi. But before they do, I have to recognize the film officer from Machakos County. Machakos is one of those counties that are very friendly in terms of facilitating creatives. And I will give her a minute to just share what Machakos has done or what it's planning to do for the industry so that everyone can be able to appreciate the office of film in Machakos. Karibu sana.
Good afternoon. Mkonanja, good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Doreen Kathambi Kithinji. I am the Principal Film Officer for Machawood. And I won't be saying too much because our delighted CCM, Honorable John Kilonzo, has joined us. So mine is just to thank each and everyone. Naona Machakos Creatives metokea vile inafaa. So kwanza mjipigie makofi. Yeah, it's a pleasure having sent an invite to various groups and individuals, and the fact that you've honored it. Thank you so much. Second of all, I'd just like to recognize the Department of Tourism and Culture. Kindly, officers, where you are, you mneza simama and wave. Come on, chap chap. Yes. Thank you so much for also supporting this initiative. And KFCB, thank you for your tremendous support throughout our programs. They have been one of the key stakeholders who have really assisted Machawood with their programs, and we continue to look forward to a positive engagement going forward. So I don't know whether now I can introduce maybe my CACM to say something. So, yes. Sorry for ambushing you. Yeah. Okay, sawa then. So thank you each and every one of us. I think he'll also maybe touch on Machawood and the plans that we have for the creatives of Machakos County. Si mnaweza ngoja sasa akwambie, si ndio? At least hata muone ni nani, si ndio? Sawa then. So thank you so much.
Karibu sana bwana CAC. Wamekuambush. Lakini mwanao ni kuja Kakamua. All right, so the question and answer session, I think the presenters can move on stage. I think we'll limit at least one question per person so that we can be able to save time. Mr. Victor Okello. So I hope we remember their presentations. Marcos talked about the registration function, that is filmmakers, agents, and the mandate of the board. Redemptor talked about classification of films at the Kenya Film Classification Board. And then Mr. Victor Keller talked about exhibition and distribution. And I believe that most of you have interacted with him, those who are in the distribution and exhibition field. So questions will be answered promptly and everyone will be settled. I think we can take the first three questions. Any question about distribution and exhibition? So we'll take his first, then next.
Mine is not on distribution. Mine is particularly on a question based on artistic freedom and expressions. Yeah, so there are cases where a film could be banned or restricted from being distributed. So my question is, what makes that film maybe to be banned? And in regards to the artistic freedom of creation, exploring all the diverse cultures and the maybe the extra mile to showcase what is happening on the ground. Like for instance, the previous film that was just we just witnessed the trailer. It's showcasing what is happening on the ground with some cases where people are being given some expatriate jobs, and when they get them, it's a case of body organs being removed from their body and they go missing. So does that maybe affect maybe the distribution of that film, or for similar cases when a film is being banned? Kindly please respond to that.
Okay, the next question.
Hello, my name is Gad. I have two questions, but I love to stick with one according to your rules. Now, my question is directed to the classification lady, and I'm asking now that the script is the backbone of a film or a particular or a film or a particular video. Do you guys have maybe forums or training for script writers so that they can be able to familiarize themselves with the kind of rules and regulations that's supposed to follow before they create a particular movie or film?
I think you can ask the second question as well.
So my second question is it has to do with music videos, and then I saw the a music video lenses goes for 5,000 and 1,000 shillings for each subsequent day for doing the filming. Now my question is, this 5,000 shillings, does it apply the lenses, does it apply for that particular one music video, or it's an annual lenses?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Maskonde. I have also a couple of questions, but I'll ask one. Then if you give me another chance, I'll also ask the rest. Number one, for example, when it comes to classification of the films, and you've rated it at a specific age, is there an appeal process if a filmmaker, I feel that the classification that you gave me is maybe over 18, and I would like my film to be a general film? Is there an appeal process that I can do? Yeah, maybe.
There's another question here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kase. My question, assuming as a filmmaker, I've produced a film and I've seen regulations about film license. You need to give out a synopsis, you need to have shooting days, and I've already produced that movie and I'm in need of a license. What is the procedure of getting the license? Thank you.
There's another one.
I go by the name Kelvin Kasioki, but jina yangu ya usanii ni Kawetu. I am a Kamba and Machakos film producer. And I would like to start, my question is on distribution first. You didn't expound more on it, so I would like you to answer me this. For example, I'm an upcoming film producer. I want to produce a film. I have to comply with everything you've told us that we have to comply with. But by the end of the day, as you said, nimeshukuru mmesema mmeanza kureduce some of the pesa zenye zinafaa kulipwa kama the daily fee. But by the end of the day, we have to look at pesa mfukoni. So if I produce the film, I have complied with everything you've said. Do you, when it comes to distribution, so that at least something can come back to you, do you help that filmmaker in any way? And let me put my question to be one in two. If you help that producer after you have complied with everything, the shooting and producing the film, and maybe there is a fellow who wants to be a distributor, do you give maybe education or guideline or any support, moral, financial, or any kind of support to an upcoming film distributor? Thank you.
I think we can take those, and then those who are yet to ask, they can do so after they have answered those few questions.
Thank you, Kasuki, for that question. I think in the presentation, in the interlude, there's a video that was played that is showcasing what Nairobi Film Center can offer. So as a board, that is a facility that we avail to creatives to be able to showcase their works. And you can always write to the CEO of the board requesting for a space, and definitely it will be considered because we give creatives the first priority. In terms of help in distribution, I think one of the ways that the government or the board rather assist is, first of all, you should be able to be in good standing in terms of the legal requirements, because it will be very hard to maybe assist you, for example, if you want to exhibit that film. Because one of the ways that can help you to exhibit or distribute a film is through exhibition. So we'll value that space upon request and consideration of certain factors. Then it is from there that you'll be able to be able to distribute it. I think in terms of other issues, how to protect your copyright and all that, our colleagues from Kekobo will be able to assist you or advise you on the way forward on what you need to do to be able also to protect yourself. And that is the reason why we are here today, to empower you with certain information so that you'll be able to do the business of film distribution and exhibition in an atmosphere that gives you returns as a creative, but also protects your intellectual property. Thank you.
I would also like to mention that the beauty with you using the Nairobi Film Center as your space is that we are also able to market the film for you on our social media pages. The endorsement you get from the fact that you've classified your film, we actually have a social media presence that you'd want to utilize. So that comes with you utilizing that space which is meant for creatives. Please note that we're encouraging that anyone would want to utilize the space to ensure that they are compliant. Because if you're not compliant, it becomes a bit hard for us even to support the works. So let's work together for that to happen. You asked about how to apply for a retroactive license. What we all need to understand is that a filming license must obtained prior to filming, not after filming. So if you filmed without a license, you first of all have to acknowledge that you violated the law. That is a fact. If you want a retroactive license, which ideally is discouraged, you just write to us. Let's look at the nature of that violation, because at the end of the day, much as we are a regulator, we are here to facilitate the industry. And if you have a film that can help you make money out there, then we have to find a way of facilitating you to get the content out there. So just write to our CEO and we'll be able to review your case and look at how we can assist. Because at the end of the day, we need to empower you. We need to facilitate you to make money. And of course, empower you with the information you require. The reason we're here today is so that you have that knowledge and you're able to acquire the licenses prior to filming. There was the question on the music video license. The license we issue is for each title of film we are creating. So if today you're doing a music video for Ken or Maria and it's for song X, the license will be for that music video and for the period of the shoot. If you say you're filming for 1 day, it is for 1 day, after which the license will expire. But there's also a leeway that if you notify us before the expiry of the license and you realize that the 1 day was not adequate, then we'll be able to allow you to pay only the 1,000 daily filming fees as an extension. That is why we have the 1,000 daily filming fees, that you're able to extend the license before expiry. So let's take note of that. And the license is for any content that is meant for sale or distribution to the public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with the question on freedom of expressions. And so, as we had said earlier, we are mandated by the board, and as a board, we are guided first and foremost by the Constitution. So the Constitution guarantees us freedom of expression. That is a right that you have. But Article 24 talks about restriction of rights. So as a board, when we are restricting or banning your content, we are cognizant that we are restricting your right. But then this is done under the law, under the Constitution. So Article 24 says that there are rights that can be restricted, and the restriction must be reasonable and justifiable. And also, when I'm restricting this content, then the board must also prove there's no any other alternative way other than to restrict that film. So everything is done accordance to the law. Article 33 talks about expression. You have the expression, artistic expression, but then D says this artistic expression does not extend to propaganda for war, incitement to violence, and hate speech. And then we have Article 33, protection of children. So as board, if I'm rating a film and we are restricting it, we are also cognizant of that. Article 27, free from discrimination. So you cannot produce a film that will discriminate persons of nationality or either on their gender, nationality, ethnicity. That will not pass. And also, as a board, we're also guided by Article 10, the principle of governance, inclusivity, transparency. So everything is done under the law, and every film that we have ever restricted, we've been taken to court, and the courts have held the verdicts of the board. So for us to come to a decision whereby we are restricting your film, this is not a decision that is taken lightly. Everything must be considered and taken into consideration. In 2016, there are people who went to court to canvass the mandate of the board. Basically, they were saying our mandate is unconstitutional, but then that was overturned, whereby the constitutional court held that we actually have a mandate to rate, to film, and even to restrict film, going with the articles that I've just mentioned. So you don't have to fear when you are restricting a film, because it is something that is done carefully regarding we are looking at the laws and everything that is there. Another question was appeal process for classification. So probably you've submitted your content for classification, we've rated it 18, but you wanted it to become GE. What usually happens when you give you a rating, we don't just give you a rating, we also explain to you why that rating was given. So if you had a film, it's rated 18, I will explain. You see, in this scene and this scene, there was this scene and this scene. But then you can also reapply for classification. We can have a discussion whereby I tell you, the act allows us to, you can delete some scenes, you can modify, and then you resubmit it for classification. So once you submit your content for classification and we give you a rating, you are able to appeal that rating. Then the decision is not final. And then someone talks about training for script writers so that they can know what is expected of them. So Marcos failed to say that when you are applying for filming license, you'll submit your script to registration department. They will go through your script. That is the first process of screening. If there's anything off, they will be able to tell you, hey guys, this film that you're this script, how it is going, it may not meet the requirements. And also, we also have those training. We have stakeholders engagement where we engage with filmmakers and we can have a discussion on classification and also the guidelines. Thank you.
I would like to recommend something for all filmmakers, that if you follow the due process of creating that film that is within the confines of the law, you will not have your film banned. The licensing function is an advisory function, much as we're giving the approval. We'll have a conversation because I can easily tell that, look, you are actually glorifying certain things, you are promoting certain things, because that is what you'll be looking at. Are you glorifying something? Are you promoting violence? Yeah, is what you're doing propaganda? So when you submit that screenplay, I'm able to just look at that story and see the direction it's taking. And if I realize that that is where you're going, I'll have a conversation with you and you'll be able to even tweak your script. Because like Vera, there are things they are raising, issues, real issues that the society is grappling with. But they are also admonishing the same. And that is the work of a creative. You don't just say, this is it and I'm promoting it. You can raise the issues, you can tell your story, but do not promote or glorify those vices, especially those that are in violation of the constitution of the land. Thank you.
I think we can take the next round of questions. And as he proceeds to ask the question, I think, Marcos, you can also talk about marketing, because someone said he or she has produced a film and then he's now stuck with it in the house. He would like to know how to market, but I believe there's a roadmap that someone is supposed to come up with before even production. Maybe you can talk about it.
For filmmakers, the marketing and distribution is a key component of the process. Unfortunately for us, and I totally understand why we seem to dwell so much on production and forget the aspect of marketing and distribution. In many jurisdictions, marketing and distribution takes the biggest percentage of, your cost of production generally. We're looking at production generally, not production as principal photography. So over time and from my interaction with the industry, I realized that most of us are creating content without a target audience in mind, without a market in mind. So you interact with an audience like this and someone tells you, I've made films for the past 10 years, yet I've never heard of even one title. Who are we creating the content for? Remember, our audience are dynamic. Yeah? The audience you have in the Gen Zs are not the audience you have, in alphas, are not the audience you have in millennials. Our needs are different. The way of you're telling the story is different. But most importantly, you need, first of all, to figure out who you're creating the story for. Secondly, let's try and put some money, invest some money in marketing and distribution. Because once you've created the content, how do you push it out there? I know of a filmmaker who created a film. By the time they were to release the film, they had already recouped whatever they had invested. They just decided to put the movie on YouTube. They didn't even go to the cinema. That is the kind of business strategy you need to have. We forget commercialization completely and think that as a filmmaker, your job is just to create film. If you're creating content that is not going to earn you a living, then it's pointless. You'd rather find something that will earn you money. So that would be my advice to all of us.
Right. And then I think Redemptor can also speak about the audience gap in such a way that, according to the data that the board has, there is a specific audience that is not served, that there is a gap. People are not creating content to address that. Maybe Redemptor can proceed.
Yeah, so for us, when we are classifying, so we find most of the content are rated ages 16 or PG, showing that there's no content for kids, especially locally made content. So our children are forced to watch Cocomelon. They are forced to watch the cartoons. If it's animation, it's animation from the US. So you rarely get local filmmakers making content geared towards the children. Even the YouTubers, the bloggers, you rarely make content geared towards kids. So that is a niche you can explore, just making content for children, local content for children. Just make, here in Machakos, just make local content in Kikamba for kids. Our kids don't speak our languages anymore. So you can just even decide, I'll be teaching kids our local language, just targeted to them. Thank you.
That is a leakage that you will not find anywhere.
Wow.
Bwana CECM, you wanted to add something?
Okay, I really like what you've just said, because and I'll speak a bit later.
Greet us first.
Nakuja hapo officially. Hii ni ya swali tu. So the last 3 days we were creating a policy around culture. And the conversation was, how do we deepen our culture within our people? And some of the strategies we spoke about is exactly what you're saying, where we produce short conversations, whether it is videos, whether it's interactive sessions, geared at, again, different target markets, whether it is the children you're talking to, and then begin to talk about our culture and our language as canvas. So I'm glad you raised that. I'll come officially and speak. So asante sana.
Okay, you can now ask the question.
Well, my name is Joshua Steven, well known.
Please hold the mic well.
Yeah, my name is Joshua Steven, well known as Alkamania Darlington. I'm a ethnographer. Nafurahi kwanza mmenguzia stories za culture manzi, hapo ndo nalai mata ethnography. Yeah. So, I'm so glad you guys mmeleta hii nyumbani na tuko hapa tuna learn tukizidi na kusonga mbele. But ukweli ni kana kwamba as from my end bado na feel like hii stories za licensing bado iko juu. Iko juu tu sana. Kwa sababu, for instance, as much as tuko hapa na tuna learn, kuna mtu ametoka, for example, wacha nitumie Machakos, now that I come from Machakos. Masinga ndo afike apate hii knowledge ama information. Kutoka huku kufika hapa na kurudi, trust me, it's costly.
Then again, wengi wao hawajaweza kufika, for example. Na huyo mtu unaanza kumwambia tena, akianza kushoot ngoma yake, alipe 1000 kila siku, alipe 5000 kila siku, ni Mkenya, tuko Kenya. It's funny. So, kama inaweza kuwa tap kidogo, sometimes back nikifuata story yenu niliona hapa mkisema kunako ka 15% mnakozida. So sijui kama so far kwa hiyo 5k na 1000 kama mshakozida hiyo bado ndo mnaangalia sasa hivi. Ingine ni it's crazy. Tukija hapa tukianza kuambiwa venye hii ganji, acha nitumie lugha zote, inakatwa sisi creatives, yet wengine they don't know even how to fish. Lakini wakati uko na ule samaki yako kidogo ikuwe ni omena, unaanza kuambiwa omena wako tunataka kichwa yake, manzi utabaki na nini? Kwa sababu ile nguvu kidogo wako naye ni ya kukapcha omena, hawana uwezo wa kukapcha tilapia. So I think it also is important as a government entity ama you kama serikali mkaanza kuzida na hizi trainings. Then also we also speak matter marketing, how to go about it. Then matter marketing, the much one can earn through creativity as far as each and every role ama each and every category is yeah, imehusika. Kuna sinema hapa ilikuwa imewekwa. I'm so glad Redemptor ulileta hiyo. Then
could you please make the questions brief?
Wacha nimalize. Yangu sijui ni story lakini tu utakapta chenye za jibu. Yeah. Sure. So, kuna hiyo story ilikuanga hapo. It was a good one. Mimi niliona kila mtu akisema ni scary, ho nini. Okay, matter emotional intelligence. But again, back to Mutula time. Kulikuja nguo ya mini skirt nini, wasichana wetu tunaanza kuexpose, but honestly, wacha tukue used to this. Tuzoee hii kitu. Na hizi vitu hazitakuwa na effect kwa life yetu. Hazitakuwa na effect kwa watoto wetu. Hiyo script mimi niona ni mzuri sana as much as mlirate 16. It's a good one.
All right. Thank you so much.
Sir, the last one. Kwa hiyo story. Honestly, mimi niko na concern na culture. Kwa sababu unaongea stories za tamaduni. Tukienda Turkana kule wale watu wanatembea tu kwa design fulani. Lakini ukija hapa Machakos kwa sababu sisi tumezoea maybe kudunga manguo, wakipitia hapa wengine wataanza kutamani na kuanza kumwaga ute kidogo, alafu kesi zingine unaweza kuwa raised. So please, as much as sijui mnatumia criteria gani ndo mpitishe hii mswada, but I wish and it's my kind plea, Kenya kama kunaweza kuwa na house of culture, please. Mzungu anakuja hapa mtanilima tu.
All right, that is sufficient. I think we can give time to the bench to respond. That's sufficient. I think, Marcos, you can talk about as well the TMS and the issue that have been raised. They fall in your purview. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua, for the issues you've raised. First of all, we all need to take note of the fact that the fees we are charging are administrative fees for us to be able to basically provide the service that is coming your way. But again, we are also concerned about definitely the affordability of the fees. And that's why we are able to initiate reviews of the same, the way we've done. So what I would like most of us to be doing is that you have a constitutional mandate. Yeah, and the mandate of public participation is bestowed on you. Sometimes I get a bit disappointed when we develop regulations, we review even those fees, we send out invites for creatives to be able, to show up and give their feedback on that. And you find that we do not turn up. We do not even submit written, proposals on the same. So as a board, we are doing as much as we can to create that facilitative environment, and that is what you are speaking to. But again, I would also encourage most of us to participate in such forums where you're able to, get your voice heard, give your proposals, so that eventually we have regulations which include the fees that are supportive to the industry. On the aspect of most of you not having the information about the requirements that we articulated today, we are taking that as a challenge, and we try and intensify these engagement forums and reach out to as many creatives as possible. As we speak, we are not only engaging the creatives in this space, we are also live streaming this. And in all engagement forums, we've been able to live stream this so that we can reach as many people as possible. But I take what you've raised as a challenge to the board, and we'll take it up. I think generally we are not into stifle creativity. We need to look at what we do as a way of facilitating the industry. And if you look at other sectors, the creative industry is not the only industry that we have. We have the banking industry, we have so many other sectors that are regulated. And it's only through regulation that we're able to streamline the industry, and we're also able to basically help you, have the information, knowledge, and support that you require to be able to make a living in this industry. We want as many creatives as possible. Redemptor will tell you that the aspect of culture is very key, and the context in which something is presented in that form is worth considering. Maybe with regard to culture, which most of us are passionate about, it can only be preserved through film. I was having a conversation with the CEC, with the representative of the CEC you saw in a video we played from Nairobi County. And we realized that most of us even lack originality in the way we tell our stories. You decide to copy the West. You decide maybe pop culture is everything. But we have our own stories that Hollywood is hunting for. In the name of competitions, but in the process they're able to gather our stories and tell those stories. But no one will be able to tell that story authentically better than us. So it's also a challenge to you that as much as we are working hard to facilitate you to create the environment that is conducive, can you also help us preserve our culture, tell our authentic stories, and target our own people? Because your market is in Kenya before it gets to Tanzania or any other country.
Thank you so much, Marcos. I think we'll close at that because of time. We'll go to the next presentation. But before we go to the next presentation, there's a lady by the name of Carol Chungu who wanted to sing a song. I'm told she's a singer from the great Machakos County. Let's give her a minute to show us what she's got, and then we move to the next presentation. The next presentation will be about the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. You see, it is not easy to have all these agencies in one group. So the aim of them being here, all of them, is so that they can be able to discuss the role they play in the film industry. Because if you want to get that information, then you have to move from office to office, and those are not close together. But by this, we are coming to the people so that we bring you the information at your doorstep. And everyone, whoever is interested in the industry, there is a link that he can log in and be able to also watch whatever is happening live from wherever he is. So, Carol, too.
Hello, praise God. I'm Carol Chungu. I love Jesus. And I want to present a song. It's about parents who gave back to me, who gave back to you, and who took care of us. DJ.
Wambie ivuni ya kumami wakwa, wambie ivuni ya kumami wakwa, na ndonile monde nondo wakutata, na undonile monde nondo wakutata, noinwe emwe motingwa kombe, tiwa moyo tetaniwa nenyu, noinwe emwe motingwa kombe, tiwa moyo tetaniwa nenyu. Yo sina utanu, yo sina utanu, nundu ni ramedoi, ni dina madi, nundu ni ramedoi, ni dina madi, kutuweza, kutuweza, wiyumite, mukatutwanza, zosia bolio, mukatutwanza, zosia bolio, mukambi na mutete, mukambi na mutitino ekaini sianye gumba osiandiaye ekaini sianye gumba osiandiaye wangwie ivuni ya kumami wakwa wangwie ivuni ya kumami wakwa na ndonilie moyo wakutata na ndonilie moyo wakutata noinwe emwe motingwa kombe tiwa moyo tetaniwa nenyu noinwe emwe motingwa kombe tiwa moyo tetaniwa nenyu.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carol. So the next presenter, he's a captain by training, a pilot that is, and a captain from the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. He's the man in charge of the unmanned aircraft systems. In layman's language, they are called drones. Mr. Kigero, karibu sana.
Thank you, Brian. As you have heard, my name is Francis Keegan. I will be representing the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority today on issues to do with unmanned aircraft systems. Before I continue, how many of you is aware of Kenya Civil Aviation Authority? Just by show of hands. Wow. Okay. How many of you can differentiate between Kenya Civil Aviation Authority and Kenya Airports Authority? How many of you can differentiate? Wow. Okay. Naona niko na kazi leo. So before I start my presentation, I do agree that Kenya Civil Aviation Authority is one of the entities that has been very hard to interact with the kind of audience that we have now. Most of the work for Kenya Civil Aviation Authority has been in airports. However, now that we have what we call drones, it has now created an opportunity for us to come and interact with the rest of Kenyans. So the difference between Kenya Civil Aviation Authority and Kenya Airports Authority is a very thin line. Kenya Civil Aviation Authority, we are the ones who regulates aviation in Kenya, meaning we are the ones that license pilots, license engineers for aircraft, license aircraft, license drones, license aviation training organization, and we are the ones that oversee the Kenyan airspace from ground to infinity, apart from areas that are governed by the military. The work of Kenya Airports Authority, you are aware of Adani. I know of you are aware of that. Kenya Airports Authority is the one that are the owners of the airports. They are the ones that own the buildings within the airports and provide security within the airports in conjunction with other security agencies. So that is a distinction. And also airstrips. They have major airstrips that they control. So why is KCA coming to regulate drone use in Kenya? Parliament passed regulations in 2020, March 2020. KCA come in because we are the ones who oversee operation of airspace. And if you look at the regulations, they were anchored in three main objectives. One is security, number two is safety, another one is privacy. I can admit that drone regulation is a bit stringent. It requires commitment, not because of anything, because of the three issues. The drones can be misused if it goes into the wrong hands. That's why before you operate a drone, you must undergo what we call a vetting process. This is just to make sure that anybody who is going to operate a drone has a clean records in terms of security. Ask yourself today, if you are seated in your home state and a drone comes over, take a picture of you or a video and disappears, how are you going to feel? And you can't catch it. So this is the reason why we always want to have information and we have to regulate the drone usage in Kenya. Ask yourself, why do we need to regulate drones in this airspace? We have a lot of activities happening within the Kenyan airspace. You are aware of helicopters moving from one point to another. Suppose you are flying your drone and it collides with a helicopter, and possibly that helicopter is carrying one of the prominent people. Even if it is not prominent, carrying any Kenyan and collides with a drone, chances are there will be fatal accident. These are the reasons. If this drone ends up in the wrong hands, like the terrorists, what do you think they can use to do? The drone can be armed with even a small bomb, can be armed with a grenade. Even collecting information about a certain location for malicious damage is sufficient enough that that drone needs to be regulated. That is the main reason why KCA come in and ensure that anybody who is supposed to operate a drone is vetted and ensured that they are not a risk to the population. So our work as the authority is that we are there to facilitate. I'm very happy today that I'm here to interact with you. This is a forum that it is not easy to come in contact with. Most of you, I know percentage of you don't even know that there's regulations that govern drones usage in Kenya. And when I say drones usage, it cuts across. There is no exemption. I know you go to weddings, you find people flying drones. Most of those drones are being operated illegally. And I tell you this for free. If by any chance
you get arrested and you are subjected to the current drone regulations, it is very, very punitive because the charges are very, very punitive. I don't even like to see anyone undergoing that process. The charges are between 6 to 12 million, 6 years, or 12, or both. It's not worth it. And don't say that when you are flying in a wedding, it's not risk. It's not risk because your intention is, yes, you're flying in a wedding. But suppose somebody else is using the same drone to collect information about the same wedding to to form an attack. How do you look at that? Some drones are very basic. You can see a drone flying, even doing spraying. It's it's a drone that is not harmful from your perspective. But suppose somebody fill that drone, instead of filling with water, fills with poison and flies to a water point. What do you think will happen? So this is a very good, innovative equipment. However, it requires a lot of what we call regulatory framework, information sharing, and ensure that the people who use drones are for the specific functions they do. We have now what we call the data protection, which one of our colleagues is going to take us through. Ask yourself, you are flying up there collecting information. Suppose somebody decides to take you to court that you have infringed their privacy. How are you going to get out of that? So these are some of the challenges that require that every time you fly a drone, you ensure that you have all the required documents. That is the only way that you'll protect yourself and protect your business from being infringed. So I'll go through some slides here. So I've talked about what KCA is. It's an establishment. It was established by an act of parliament in 2002. It's to regulate oversight aviation safety, license of air service license, certification of aircraft operators, provide air navigation service provision, and training of personnel. This is all about the drone, which I've just spoken in brief about why KCA comes in to regulate the use of drones. And I can say that you as content creators, this is one of the equipment that is going to really help you improve on your creativity in some of the scenarios. And the authority, as KCA, we are there to ensure that we facilitate you get the correct documentation to operate the drone legally. However, if you choose to operate it illegally, then there's also laws that governs that. But for us as authority, we only help you in compliance. If you decide to go the other way, then the law takes over. And I really don't wish anybody to be on the other side. Because for me, I'll just come as a witness, which I don't like it. So I better assist you. We better assist you with all necessary paperwork to ensure that you comply. So, and drone, for you to own a drone, it starts from importation because we don't have companies that manufacture drones here in Kenya. So from importation, somebody undergoes what you call a vetting. Most of these applications are online. You just make an application, create an account, and then that account is activated. You put in the required documentation, which it's not moving. So these are the requirements for you when you apply for a drone importation permit or the registration, a valid tax compliance from Kenya Revenue Authority. Most of the tax compliance we require is not more than 12 months from the time it was issued. KRA PIN, ID or passport, valid police clearance, which should not be more than 12 months. Requirements for companies, CR12, KRA PIN, and valid police clearance for management personnel in the CR12. So when you make this application, We usually review as the authority and we forward it to Ministry of Defense. Ministry of Defense, this application will branch into different government agencies. Some will go and do the background checks. Some will do what we call technical specification of the drone. And then once they have no objection, they will send us an approval and we issue an import permit. Once you receive an import permit, you are supposed to bring in that drone and tell us when it arrives at the point of entry, most of the time at the airport or port or the border. Then we do what we go and do what we call physical verification to confirm that the drone that came into the country is actually the one that you applied for. Once we have confirmed that, you have custody of the drone and you'll be required to do the registration, which is still online. You just put in the serial number, do the registration. Once it goes back again to Ministry of Defense, come back if they have no objection, if they confirm that it has no military capability and any other thing, the payload is okay, then we'll issue with a registration. So this registration starts with 5Y. What does 5Y means? This is a designation that is assigned to Kenya by International Civil Aviation Organization that governs civil aviation in the world. So anything 5Y, even if you go to airports, you see Kenyan registered aircraft starts with 5Y. Just like cars here in Kenya, start with K. You go to Tanzania, start with T. Uganda, something else. So that's how it is and should be physically displayed in an aircraft. When I say an aircraft, refer it to a drone. Should be well displayed in that drone and should be readable. Somebody can even read and say, this is the number for this drone. So before you do any operation or what we call drone operation, you have to apply for what we call daily operation authorization. Meaning today, if you want to fly here, you have to get a letter of no objection from this hotel that you'll be flying in this hotel and for this purpose. That letter we will receive when somebody makes an application. We look at your drone. We confirm that your drone is fully registered. We also need at least a third-party insurance cover for your drone. Why do we need third-party insurance? In case you fly your drone and ends up hitting somebody or going into the power lines and causing damage, you need to be safe. That is the only way that insurance cover will take care of you. And then once we look at all these requirements, ensure that there's no what we call vital installation, government vital installation, will issue with what we call daily operation authorization for that specific event, for that specific location, for that specific day. And you'll be required to inform the nearest security agencies that have been approved by Kenya Civil Aviation Authority to do this at this point from this time to this time. That is how you will now operate that drone legally. So these are requirements for commercial drone operation by local operators. A drone must be registered. You also need to be trained. This is something also very important. You also need to be trained. How do you get the training? In Kenya Civil Aviation website, we have approved training organization. There is a list there. You can choose any one of them and you can go and train. We also have commercial operators. If by any chance you don't want to meet the requirements for commercial operation, which is usually another process by itself. It's a process called 5-phase certification process, which involves pre-application meeting, formal application, document evaluation, site inspection and demonstration, and then certification phase. It's a process that can take up to 3 months. If you feel that if you're a commercial operator and you cannot meet those requirements, you can always get support from those approved entities, definitely with a cost, not from KCA, but with that operator. I want you to take it literally like you buy a matatu, you put it in a circle. That's how it somehow operates like that. So if by any chance you have your one drone and you are doing commercial operation and you don't want to comply with all those, you can go to our website, get the list. You can agree with one of them so that they will be applying on your behalf. So that is also very, very important for you to note. So I've mentioned most of this remote pilot, ROC, if you're a commercial operator, letter of no objection. I've said that if you're operating in certain location, and then you'll be issued with authorization. You can also be issued with approval for special locations. Like if you want to operate within an airport, there's certain additional requirements that you'll be mandated to have before you operate. However, it will be evaluated and you'll be issued with an approval. So requirements, I think I've mentioned that. One of the other things that you need to be aware is that tourists are not allowed to come into the country with their own drones and come and operate here. That is purely because of security reasons. And we want also to promote the local industry. Let them come, hire the drones here and use it. Leave the money here with the Kenyans, then they bring their own drones. So that is it. I don't know whether this is the time to take questions. I don't know whether time will allow us to take questions. However, that is an nutshell of what we do as Kenya Civil Aviation Authority in terms of drone usage. Please, my advice is this. If you have a drone, you have not registered, you are not qualified to fly, you don't have an insurance cover, you don't have an authorization, please don't risk. Leave it, comply first before you fly. That is my humble request. Thank you.
Selector ni Rambo na MC ni Diambo, wanga mbaya sana akiweka gopa to miondoko mchezo nilianza kitambo.
We now move to the question and answer for Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. If you've any question, kindly proceed to ask. The microphone.
Thank you. Jackson from here in Machakos. Question number 1. What are the charges? Number 2, if already you have the drone, you just purchased, you've not imported, how do you go about it? Number 3, can we have a soft copy of whatever you've said, if possible? Thank you.
Kindly let's limit our questions to 1 per person so that we can be able to at least capture everyone's interest. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Culture. I just want to know whether you guys have devolved your offices that if someone wants to register, they can get an office from local, or it's only just online. Thank you.
There's another question here.
Well, I'm asking about the punishment. As you said, you find that the person's interests are pure. And because maybe the person does not have the money to pay maybe for those charges, and he or she just purchased the drone. And then maybe, unfortunately, something happens and then they find themselves in the courts now. If you know that the punishment is punitive, are you thinking if they have indicated that they were doing the good thing or the intentions were good, have you thought of maybe making the punishment somehow simpler?
Could you could you please explain what pure intention is?
Pure intentions. For example, I have purchased a drone. Maybe I do events, weddings, or something. I am just maybe covering the wedding. And now maybe someone who has the bad intentions now comes along with the other drone. My drone did not take part in that whatever. So maybe if I was pure, my intentions were pure. Maybe you can check on the punishment at least.
Are the pure intentions abiding by the law?
Yes. No.
Oh,
Just.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have another question there. I think we can take two more and then we close.
Okay, I'm Joshua Munyo. My question to KCA, I feel that you have a lot of information that needs to get to the public. I want to know what plans do you have as KCAA to make sure that this information is out there, as opposed to now maybe coming to an event like this, maybe it might be rare, but maybe KCA needs to have its own program of making sure that this information is out there, because I feel you have a lot of information, but the public doesn't have it. Even if ignorance is not defense, but it shouldn't be by default. Asante.
All right. Someone there had a question.
All right, thank you for the floor. So just adding up on what he was saying, for instance, we got this chance to come here and get this knowledge. But now, for instance, one of my brother operates a drone, but he doesn't have the knowledge that you're giving out here. And it is very rare for somebody to get into the KCAA website to check for these policies and also the punitive impact of operating a drone. So just as what he said, how do you think you're going to disseminate this knowledge to the people out here? For instance, other counties where you've not visited, among others. Thank you.
All right. I think everyone else, if you had a chance to ask during the first session, we'll encourage other people to do so. So I think you had spoken earlier. Oh.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Mine is a comment on the charges. They are too high for Kenyan operators. Some of us here are startups. People are growing up, small artists who are growing up. We're not like the big artists globally. So in this case, could you have different rates for international companies, for Kenya national companies, and then for individuals who want to start up something small in their village? Thank you.
All right. I think that is sufficient. Before he even answers, there is this gentleman who asked about the pure intention. Now, let me ask the audience. For example, you are in the village. Then there is this witch who has been devastating everyone. And then you want to solve that situation. Are you allowed to kill him? Are you allowed to kill him? Thank you. You can proceed.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your questions. Concerning charges, I can agree that currently the charges which are there is a bit high. However, I remember the first draft of these regulations, drone regulations, were actually nullified because they didn't want drones operation in the country. Like the Ministry of Defense and all other agencies, actually, they discouraged and they had put charges quite high to discourage people from operating. However, we reviewed it to a certain standard, which I still feel is still high. However, we are in the process of reviewing the regulations, and once we review, we are likely to review also the charges to also be in line with the situation. The current charges is that for commercial operation, you are supposed to pay 2,500 to Kenya Civil Aviation per day per operation, and 2,000 shillings for private use or for recreational use. So we still feel that is extremely high. For you to operate a commercial operation, you pay a total of 120,000. which is for initial issue is 80,000, which is valid for 1 year, and then you're supposed to pay 20,000 for what we call document approval. We have 4 documents that you are supposed to approve. We have what we call safety manual, operational manual, quality manual, and security manual. We also have 5 office holders that you are supposed to get approval for. That is accountable manager, head of safety, head of security, head of quality, and head of operation. So our total comes to 120. I still feel this is charges that are higher, but we are going to review it in future. I think I've tackled about the charges. Drone that are purchased. Before you purchase a drone, you must purchase from an approved entity by Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. These approved entities are in our website. If you go to Kenya Civil Aviation website, you go to where it is ASSR, you'll go to unmanned aircraft. In that unmanned aircraft, you will find a list of commercial operators, reseller distributor approved within the country. You also have training organization that are approved. So that website will give you all that information, even the charges. In our regulations, we have charges. We have the regulations, we have the charges for each service that is offered. It is available in Kenya Civil Aviation website. You have said, I think Kenya Film Commission, Kenya Film Classification Board will be able to provide you with a soft copy of our presentation today. We talk about penalties. Yes, penalties are a bit punitive, and this is because this was done to punish the wrongdoers. However, when you punish the wrongdoer, it ends up also catching up with somebody who wants to operate legally. However, the best option for you is just to ensure that you comply with the requirements. That's the only way you can avoid these penalties. It is cheaper for you to comply than not to comply. Imagine somebody charging you with no import permit, no registration, no insurance, no RPL, no authorization, or flying less than 50 meters from people. And the penalties is saying not more than 1 million, or not more than 2 million, or not more than 1 year in prison, or not more than 2 years in prison, or both for each count. So it is quite punitive for you to even touch a drone if you don't have all the requirements. Another question is that somebody asked about what do we do, what are we doing as KCA to try and pass this information. As I told you, it was a bit tricky for KCA to engage with the rest of the population because most of their mandate was within the airports. However, now you are going to see more of KCA because of the drone technology, because they're the ones in charge of the airspace. So these are new technology. These are new thing to Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. However, we are trying our level best to ensure that we pass this information to the population, including such forums. We're also going to organize KCA forums to pass the information. We also seek help from other government agencies to pass this information on our behalf. And I also rely to you people. I know by the time we finish here, you'll be my good ambassador that KCA, before you fly a drone, when you see a drone, you tell them, have you complied with KCA requirements? If they don't, you take time to explain to them why it is necessary for them to comply with KCA requirements. The other question was about, can KCA be lenient about the penalties? I think all this is about what is in the law. You see, once you operate outside the law says if you violate this, this is the charges. And remember, that is not KCA to decide. It is the police and the prosecutional processes within the judiciary. So for us, KCA, we deal with compliance. We don't deal with operation outside the law. If you understand that, it will be much easier. And I advise you people, if you have if you have a brother, your sister, yourself, if you have a drone that has not met all the requirements, please leave it at home. Don't fly it. Don't fly it. The penalties are very, very punitive. I think I've tried to answer at least all the questions that have been asked. I'll be available to further ask if you have any query. I'll be more than available to try and explain areas that were not clear at any time. I want to leave this place that you have really understood the requirements for the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation, Mr. Keegan. We kindly note, I know time is moving and our stomachs might start misbehaving. But once we are done, there'll be a sumptuous meal that will be served at my far right end. So he will be taken care of. Now we move to the immigration department. You remember in the presentation by Kenya Film Classification Board, they talked about agents, and the role of agents is basically to facilitate foreign filmmakers coming into Kenya. So in that regard, an agent, of course, must in one way or the other interact with the immigration department. So from immigration, we have Miss Purity Gwantai. Karibu sana, Purity.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Purity Gwantai from the Directorate of Immigration Services, and I'll go straight to our mandate. The Directorate operates within the law, and so we draw our mandate from, of course, the Constitution of Kenya, which was promulgated in the year 2010. We also have the KCIA, or the Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Act of 2011. We have Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Regulations of 2012, Kenya Citizens and Foreign Nationals Management Act of 2011, and then we also have the legal framework that we operate under internationally. That is when dealing with foreigners or foreigners who are diplomats. For example, the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations of 1961 that deals with exemptions, maybe from payment or from other processes. We also have the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations of 1963, 1951, Geneva Convention on the refugee status or status of refugees, the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Yes, that is the mandate. That is where we draw our mandate from. The functions of the directorate. We have the obvious one, which is let me stand here. We have the obvious one, which is issuing of passports and other travel documents. I know as Kenyans, we are well conversant with the Kenyan passport or the Kenyan passport. Then there are other travel documents. For example, as a Kenyan, if you are traveling abroad or you happen to have traveled abroad and you lose your passport, how do you come back home? How do you come back home? You have no passport. How do you come back home? You've lost your passport and you're in the UK. Okay? You go to the nearest embassy, Kenyan embassy, and we normally have immigration attaches, or we have staff of the embassy there. You're going to be issued with a travel document known as, it's a one-time use document. It's called emergency certificate, EC. Then you have other travel documents like the interstate pass, which is issued to foreigners who are residents in Kenya. For example, if you're from, let's say you're British or you're American and you have a legal status to reside in Kenya, if you want to go to Uganda, you don't have to travel with your Kenyan passport. That is only limited to those states that are in the pact of willing countries. So from Kenya, you can go to Uganda as a resident of Kenya using an interstate pass. We also issue conventional travel documents to refugees who are registered under UNHCR and are resident in Kenya. The other thing we do is regulating entry and exit from the country. That is at our airports, the seaports, the borders. Yes. The other thing we do is managing foreign nationals, and that is where I'm going to center my talk on. We also register Kenyan citizenship to those who are qualified. To those who are qualified, sorry. So, and managing foreign nationals, which is one of the functions that I've just stated, that is where the filming industry will come, because we have foreigners who come here, they express interest of wanting to work or be investors in the film industry. That is where this role comes in. We have work permits or not student passes. We have work permits and we have special passes that we issue to foreigners who want to come here and work or invest. So we have several classes of work permits. We have class A, which is for mining. We have B for agriculture and animal husbandry. We have C for prescribed professions. We have D for employment, F for manufacturing, G for business and investment. Then we also have religious and charitable activities as class I. And we also have class K for residence. Residence means just staying here legally. You don't work, okay? You're not, sorry. There's something wrong with my eye. So there is residents. These are people who come to stay here and they don't work. They just reside within the law. Then M is for refugees. So for the filming industry, you're likely to come here as a foreigner, either as an employee or as an investor. So it is up to you as an agent or as a prospective employer or as an employer who is already running a business to ensure that when you bring in a foreigner, they are within the law, right? So class D for employment is where this person is going to fall. So make sure that your employees are here legally. And so you have requirements for work permits. And these are as follows. It's a long list, but I can just mention a few. This information is, of course, available on the EFNS portal, where these applications are done online. So you have a duly filled Form 25, which should be stamped by the head of the institution or the person who is giving or offering the foreigner work. It has to be duly filled, signed, and stamped. Then there's a detailed cover letter which you must address to the Director General of Immigration Services, because this is the office that issues these documents. Then national passport has to be valid for not less than 6 months. This includes both when you're applying for this document and even when entering the country. Make sure that you have valid documents or travel document. So then there is a passport size photo. There is for class D, because you're coming for employment, you have to prove that you're qualified to do the job that you're coming to do. So academic certificates must prove or must show that you're qualified for this job that you're seeking. Yes. And then For Class G is about investment. So you need money to come and invest. And the requirement for Class D specifically is that you need a capital of not less than $100,000. Then you also need a CR12. For both, you need employer's tax compliance certificate. But for a first-time person who is coming to seek employment, will only require a TCC or tax compliance certificate from your employer. This is because you've not lived in Kenya, so you have basically no tax. You've not had anything to do, so you can either file nil returns or you just don't bring the individual tax compliance certificate. However, for the employer, it has to be there. Then there is a current immigration status. If you've been in the country, for example, the people come to the country on a visitor's pass and then they apply when in the country. At the time when you're applying for your work permit or a special pass, you must have a legal stamp or what you call immigration status. Then there is an unrefundable fee of 20,000 shillings for the work permit. When you apply for a work permit, you expect two outcomes: an approval or a rejection. When it is approved, you go on and pay the a million shillings for the 2 years. That is for Class D. But for in case your work permit application is rejected, then you don't get back the 20,000 shillings that you paid for. You can do an appeal through the CS, and if the CS decides to uphold the committee's decision to reject your permit, then you can go to court. Otherwise, we just leave the country peacefully. Employer's PIN is also a requirement. It's important to note that work permits are valid for 1 or 2 years. You may apply for 2 years as an employer. You apply this for your employee, but the committee that sits to determine this permits application decides this one will give them 1 year. So when they give you 1 year, unatosheka tu, unakubali, it's 1 year. For Class G, which is investment permits, we normally give 2 years, right? 2 years and not 1 year. Then it is, of course, renewable for 2 years for both the Class D and D. But like I've stated, for Class D, you can be given 1 year. Yes. Then you have payment for the work permit should be done within 30 days. Both the permit actually and the special pass. You have to pay after it is approved. You receive a notification approval on the portal. So once you get the notification approval, you have 30 days to pay. If you don't pay within the 30 days, it becomes null and void. For the renewal, I think I already mentioned this. For the renewal, both the employer and the employee must submit their tax compliance certificates. The Kenya Special Pass is just like the name denotes, is a special document given to a foreigner who has expressed interest to come here and work or trade, but for a short period of time. So the requirements for a special pass is a duly filled Form 32. I already said signed and stamped, detailed cover letter again to the DG. A national passport must be valid for not less than 6 months. The current IS, certificate of incorporation or compliance. After approval, this one does not have a processing fee. You just apply. Once it is approved, you pay $200 per month. A special pass can be given or can be issued for a maximum period of 3 months, but it is also renewable for another